and there's enough money being on the table. That's why I hate people who are like, yo, listen, why are you working with your competitor? I mean, he's not my competitor.
Yeah, but that's like, just the same person that thinks that the pandemic was the worst thing that ever happened.
Oh, 100%.
It's just a broke mentality to have.
Welcome. I haven't seen you in how long?
Oh, bro. I don't know. When's the last time?
It's been a minute, bro.
I know.
It's been a minute.
I've been traveling like a lunatic, bro.
I know, bro.
I miss you. It's nice to meet you too, bro.
Thanks, likewise.
You guys are killing it.
I miss you, bro. I miss you.
It feels weird seeing you on the receiving end. It's usually you on the opposite
Yo, but
side.
I'm down, man. I'm down. I love this.
The interviewer becomes the interviewee.
I'm gonna have to ask you. Do you think Buddy buys happiness at this point?
Of course,
bro?
you should ask me. You know what? As a podcast host, you don't really get these opportunities often to kind of sit down and you get asked questions. So you guys are gonna feel that soon too. You guys sometimes you're gonna want to say like what's on your mind and you want to talk about topics you want to talk about, but it's always about the guest, baby.
So why don't we just start with that, bro? Like, how did that come to be? How did Money Buys Happiness come to be? What was the philosophy behind the whole brand?
Yeah, I mean, it came to life when the pandemic started. So just some context behind that. We do have a marketing agency called Neighbourhood. And when the pandemic hit, you already know how it goes, right? Everyone's cutting social media, cutting content creation, cutting everything. So we felt that right off the bat. We had a few clients. We weren't doing anything crazy, and understandably, they cut the marketing budget. So we were kind of in a position where we didn't have our clients' content to market with. So we were kind of like, okay, how do we stay relevant during this time where everyone's on their phone? And Anthony, my co-host, Anthony Sorella, came to me and he said, we should start a podcast, right? And at that point, we were kind of just down for anything because we had all this time. Remember the beginning of the pandemic?
Yeah.
You're not doing anything, right? You're just chilling and you're like, what should I do?
You're making TikToks.
Yeah, guys like us, we were like, okay, 2-3 weeks, it was cool. But then after that, we got pretty aggravated with the amount of time we had that wasn't being used well. So we started a podcast. That was Anthony coming to me and I was like, let's go, let's do it. And then we started at that time. That's when it came to life. And our idea behind that was just to kind of have the conversations we have daily. We would always have people come to our office like Nick, and we would just sit down and talk for an hour and a half about business, about marketing, about society. So we're just like, oh, we already do this. Let's just make more content around it. We wanted more content for our personal brands. So we knew that would come to be by having a podcast.
Because that's like an age-old question, no? Like, does
Yeah.
money buy happiness? It's rooted in philosophy. So
Yeah.
I'm curious to know what your take is, because I feel like, I guess not many people get your take on the subject. You're usually the one asking the question.
I've heard the answer maybe 500 times now,
Right.
you know? So I've heard everyone's take on it. Yeah, I think money buys happiness. Depends what happiness means to you. I think you have to define that first, right? I think everyone has a different definition of happiness. So if you can define what happiness means to you, and for me, it means freedom, financial freedom, taking care of my family, building up people around me, building up my team, being able to start and finish projects that I enjoy. And turns out you need money for all that, right?
Shit's expensive,
of
bro.
course, right? So for my happiness in particular, I would say money does buy happiness. And I've heard some great answers, right? I've heard that money just amplifies who you are, right? That's a very popular answer we have. If you're a great person with money, without money, you'll be greater. If you're a dickhead with no money, you'll be a bigger dickhead with money, kind of thing.
Yeah. True.
So yeah, I would say first you have to figure out what happiness means to you. There's going to be people that say no because there's things in life that matter more to them than working hard. And you know, maybe they like to travel more. Maybe they just like to read. Maybe they're into wellness. They just want to meditate all day. You don't really need too much money for that, you know, like, but at the end of the day, there are things you're going to want to do in life that you require money. Right. And I think in the right hands, I think money's always looked at as like a bad thing, as like an evil thing, like money is evil kind of thing, which I don't agree with at all because
it's how you use it. It's a tool. It's how you end up using it. If you use it for the wrong, obviously it's a bad thing. But
you give it to the right person, they can change the world.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, that would be my answer. It definitely buys me happiness. I could understand anyone's answer though to that because it's really your perspective on money and what happiness means to you.
I want to go back before the podcast, before Neighborhood, how it all kind of started, how you met Anthony, what you were doing before. Because I remember back in the day when we even met, and then we kind of reconnected, and how we even like came to making this partnership and whatever it was. So, like the nightclub days and all that stuff. I want to know about how that kind of transitioned into Neighborhood, and then the podcast, and then the businesses that you've obviously built over the years. And I know you built another business during the pandemic that, because of the pandemic, it had to be shut down. So I want to talk a little bit more into that. And
so
because everyone thinks, oh, you just woke up one morning, you had an agency, and you know you got a podcast now.
It's a typical thing.
But there's a little bit more to it. How it kind of started from the beginning. I want to know that story.
Yeah, so it's pretty interesting because I was a big nightlife guy. I was really big into hospitality. I was trying to be the best. I would say best promoter that there was in the city. Like that was my goal at that point. I don't even remember the years anymore. Maybe 2017, 2018. I had a little dinky office on Eglinton. Okay. This thing was like 200 square feet. Like it was a closet with a fridge. And I got it because I was kind of transitioning from my last business, which was a mobile app. I had Jukebox. So I had a little office, and that I got rid of the app, and then I was just nightlife, right? So I got this office, and people were like, yo, why do you have an office? You're a promoter. Like, what the fuck you need an office for, kind of thing. And I really enjoyed people coming in, kind of being part of some little culture at all, right? I was just trying to do things that weren't done at the time. And I was like, you know what? Like I can have a place. I can invite people to come have a meeting here. I can pre-drink here and have more people come out with me. So I was thinking about all those things, and I started doing special events from that. So St. Patty's Day, Cinco de Mayo, New Year's, all those, Halloween. And I was doing some big special events, maybe a couple thousand people each event. And Anthony Sorella at the time, he was doing the exact same thing, but he had a different company. So he came to me and he's like, yo, we're both doing events. We're both doing a great amount of people. We should come together and do it. Makes sense. And I was always just like about growth. So I'm like, okay, next one, 5,000 people, let's do it. So we started working together on that end. And the more we started working together, obviously, you know how it is when you're doing events, a lot of time goes into those events in the back end. So me and Ann started spending a lot of time together. And I think something he noticed with me was that I had a good network in Toronto. And that a lot of people would come to me and ask me for things very similar to what they do with you. And I would just always be down to help them, right? So someone would call me and be like, hey, I started a watch brand and I need a photographer. And I would connect them with a photographer. Done. All good, right? Same thing if someone calls me, hey, I need someone to paint my house. I need someone to give me rims. I need tires. I need whatever, right? Yeah. My goal at that time was to say, if anyone needs anything, they can come to me. I wanted that. I genuinely wanted that because I knew that would convert to them being part of my network, which in turn would be good for business because I was in nightlife. So if I help anyone and they need to go out in a couple of weeks, they're going to call me for sure. Started doing special events with Anthony. That went very well. Like I said, he noticed that a lot of people were hitting me up and he says, hey, we could probably make a business out of this. Why don't we start a marketing agency? You guys know how to do social. He's like, you know how to do social media. We can figure out this. We got Anna, who's my sister, who we ended up calling as a partner.
Shout out Anna, the backbone.
Big shout out to Anna.
She's the backbone.
Because she kills it, bro. She does everything. And that's an example of what people don't see. Yeah. You know, like they'll see me and Anthony, they'll be like, oh, look at these guys, how they doing it. They have a podcast, an agency,
so many
this, that, they're traveling.
Scenes, yeah.
And someone like Anna, without Anna, there's no Neighborhood, right? So we started that company. It was birthed from Anthony's idea of saying, hey, like you're having all these people hit you up. We can offer something in return that's actually of value and we can make money. And that's how Neighborhood initially started. We probably worked on the idea for about a year before we launched it.
And then at what point did you realize, okay, let me put all my eggs in one basket, so to speak. Let me double down on the whole agency thing and sort of gravitate away from the whole nightlife promoting.
Yeah. And I was already thinking that, you know, because nightlife is a very sticky environment. You can get stuck if you don't have a plan.
It's on its own time. It's a completely different world.
It's just a different world, right? Yeah. You can't get sucked into it, that different world, and forget that there's a reality, right? So throughout the whole time in nightlife, I knew that I was doing something right. I knew, okay, if all these people know me and more people are knowing me, I'm doing something right. So I always had it in my mind. I'm like, okay, when am I going to make the move? But we were making such good money in nightlife, it was hard to just walk away. We were actually using all that money we would make to pay our rent for our new office for Neighborhood, any employees we had at the time. So we would go out at night, promote, and use that money to pay for Neighborhood. So it was important for a bit. And then when we started getting more clients and we're like, okay, you know what? Like, we don't have to go out Friday or we don't have to go out next Thursday. That's when it started to become a reality, but we still didn't pull off completely. All our funds were coming from nightlife. The pandemic hit, and then it was for sure that this is our opportunity to kind of remove ourselves from this industry in a graceful way, you know? And that was something that we wanted to do too. We never just wanted to drop everything, say, fuck it, we're leaving. Because we have so many relationships in nightlife, the clients in nightlife. So the pandemic was like the hard stop on nightlife, and not like we had a choice. Everything was closed, right? So I always look at it as a blessing in disguise for us.
That's so weird because we've had so many people on the show who, and it's been a common trend where you'll ask, most people would say, oh, the pandemic's like this big bad thing that happened to all of us.
Yeah.
The world went on a standstill for a long time.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's all about perspective. You ask somebody totally different, said, oh, the pandemic changed my life. Like,
yeah.
And that's how we kind of connected. I remember it was like literally 2020.
Yeah.
And one of our mutual friends, Mosey, he sent me a text. He's like, listen, a couple of these guys that I know, they're looking for some t-shirts and stuff made. I'm like, all right, cool, no problem. I'll connect them with my guy. We started talking. I'm like, yo, fuck it. Like, what do I have to lose?
Yeah.
Like, let me just message him. And like, I'm dead ass gonna, like, I haven't told you this, but I think we were supposed to have a meeting in like a week or something. And my website at the time was trash. I'm like, bro,
Okay.
these guys are like, you know, they're going to look at my website. They're going to be like, yo, what the fuck is this? So, bro, I'm telling you, for the next like 6 days, I was revamping my website.
Nice.
Just so that if you were to go on it and be like, yo, this guy like is like, you know, he's somewhat legit, bro. Because this is like a pre-pandemic website.
Yeah.
It's like whatever.
Pre-pandemic website.
Yeah. So I did the website, whatever. We ended up partnering up. And I'm
Yeah.
like, yo, listen, this would be a good time for us to network, connect. And there's enough money being on the table. That's why I hate people who are like, yo, listen, why are you working with your competitor? I mean, he's not my competitor.
Yeah, but that's
Like,
just the same person that thinks that the pandemic was the worst thing that ever happened.
Oh, 100%.
It's just a broke mentality to have.
There's enough money
And
on
you
the
can
table
tell
for everyone.
And you can tell when you have a conversation with someone what kind of mindset that they have, right?
Yeah.
And I knew that when we first spoke, and I'm like, oh, this guy's like our kind of people, so we can get to business right away, kind
sure.
of thing. And then we did.
It's been what, 3 years, 4 years
Yeah,
now? We still
yeah.
working and it still works. There's stuff that I can't do that you guys can.
Vice versa.
It works and same thing. And it's never like, oh, I need to worry about you going after a client of mine or
No, because
vice
that-
versa, because it's not how it is.
I feel like that happens when, like, again, it's the person's mindset, and when someone acts like that and like, I'm not going into partnerships because this person is going to screw me up or fuck me over, right? It's going to happen to that person.
For sure.
It's going to happen, actually, because they're just manifesting their own destiny at that point. They're just actually just putting it out there to the world that they're a person that can be fucked over multiple times.
Yeah.
Now, every time you meet someone, back of your head, you're like, is this person going to fuck me over?
The negative people are always like, oh, I don't know. Like, you putting it out there. Of course it's going to happen to you.
And especially at the beginning of business, and I think we both did this.
We're careful, 100%. We're both careful.
You're careful, but you also have to learn the hard way a lot of times, right? There's a lot of bad things that have happened to us in terms of partnerships where I know moving forward not to make those decisions, right?
Yeah.
And I wouldn't know that otherwise, right? And I think that's something that people don't understand. It's like, yeah, if you just started your business, get fucked over. Get fucked over.
We got fucked over in a partnership with a client, remember?
Of course, but
We
get
had-
fucked over early.
Yeah.
The faster you get this over with, the quicker you learn, right?
Failure is
And
the
everyone,
biggest data point, bro.
but
Yeah.
that's the problem. And again, people that are saying things like that, like, oh, if I get into this partnership, I might get screwed over by this. Those are the same people that they don't have the right mindset to begin with, right? They're not
They
ready for
shouldn't have
business.
a business at all.
They shouldn't have a business, to be honest.
There's a
right?
lot of people that have businesses that shouldn't have business in the first place.
It's just,
Mindset's not
it's
there.
just what it is. You have to have an
Mentality's not
open
there, yeah.
mind, and you have to also, like, when people make mistakes, they automatically judge the other person, right? But there's a lot of mistakes that I made that were my fault.
Yeah.
We can sit here and blame all the different people that have come in our life and say, well, I shouldn't have talked to that person. I should have done business with that person. But how many times someone just sits there and says, well, what was my mistake there?
Yeah.
Well, did I trust him too easily? Or did I not consult maybe one of my partners when I should have and ask if that was a smart idea? Did I not get another opinion? So there's a lot of that stuff too that you learn in business where mistakes happen. Like the most successful people I've ever talked to, they've made the biggest mistakes.
Yeah.
It's just like a recipe. It's crazy. It's like, give me a bigger one. Like, give me something big that if I fail, I'm gonna learn something huge. If I win, I'm gonna be so happy. And you have to look at it that way.
Yeah. It's
Right?
also being able to recover from it. If something bad happens to you and you're just constantly just like down and you keep thinking, okay, you know what? Like, I don't know how it's gonna change. You gotta be proactive.
Well,
Like, I remember we had a client.
yeah.
They got a billboard campaign. Pandemic actually hit harder.
Yeah.
You're like, listen, I got to pull.
Yeah.
And we had a contract signed. Everything was done. You and me are going back like, yo, what are we going to do?
Yeah.
How are we going to sell this?
Yeah.
It was already difficult.
Yeah.
You're like, don't worry, bro. I'm going to reach out to this person. I'm like, all right, I'm going to reach out. Ant's like, I'm going to reach out. We're all trying to figure out. We ended up figuring it out.
Of course. And that's just, it's problem solving. That's what business is.
And I think that's where people come into play. And they're not problem solvers.
No, they come across, they actually try to avoid problems.
100%.
So-
They think there's no problems in business or life or anything like that. But in reality, there's so many problems that you're going to come up to every single day. How are you going to handle it? And that's what's going to, you're going to get hit every day.
Dude,
That's how you get up.
all day, right? And I think that, again, if you never get hit, you're not going to know how to get up.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? So there's a lot of things that happen in your life where I even did this, right? Like I was even looking at my past, like my past 10 years. And like I made a little timeline. I'm like, what even happened? Because you ask someone like for moments of their life and what happened, they're not going to really know off the top of their dome. So I wanted to really understand what happened to me in the last 10 years that brought me to here, right? And you start to learn about all these situations in high school, in college, in university, you're a teenager, you're in a relationship, all these things, you're noticing things about yourself, and that actually helps you understand how you got to where you are today, right? And it also helps you learn. If you don't look at your past and you say, what happened when I was 19 and I fucked up so bad, what happened there? Oh, beautiful. That's what I learned from that. Oh, that's why I haven't done that again. Right? And people wonder what kind of value they can give to people. Anyone, right? This is value you can give to someone that they can't copy, they can't imitate, they can't even really put down because it's your experience. You see what I'm saying? So even when it comes to this pod and giving value to people, the best way is just someone to tell their story. That's where all the value is.
Even right now, he's talking about, a lot of people forget that they got to reflect on their past. And the fact that you're like, obviously your life's fast paced, there's so much going on.
Of course.
And the fact that you have time to even sit there and reflect on the past 10 years.
You make things that are important to you. You have to prioritize things that are important to you, right? And one thing really in the last 2 years I prioritized was me giving myself space to think. That's super important because every time you do that, you're learning about yourself, you're learning about your surroundings, and you're also goal setting. Like you're saying, you're giving yourself direction when you do that. A lot of people go through life with no direction because their day-to-day is so insane that their last priority is actually saying, what am I thinking right now? It's crazy to say, right? But
you also have this discipline as well.
You have to.
And like, I remember we'd be talking, you're like, listen, I'm going to bed now. And it's like 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
I'm like, bro, what do you mean you're going to bed? I'm working till like 1. You're like, no, bro, I'm going to bed. I'll be up at
I'm a
5.
psycho when it comes to that shit.
So you'd wake up in the morning, you got your journals that you're doing.
Yeah.
And like, I think you were the person who put the whole city on journals. I'm going to tell you that.
That's dope. Thanks.
It's true.
Thank you.
You're the reason why I actually started journaling myself.
Dope.
And I remember at the time you had 3 journals.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you still do. Or
I have more.
Maybe
Probably
you have
more.
Yeah. And that's something that I was like, yo, this guy's actually got it. Because everyone like sees this whole image like, yo, this guy's out, he's doing this. But these are all the stuff that's a little bit behind the scenes, a little bit more personal.
Of course. When people usually learn that about me, they're like caught off guard.
There's more to you than what they see.
Of course.
And there's more to you, a lot of us. Like people think, oh, like I just smoke cigars. I just like, no, I sit there, I journal.
Yeah.
I try to meditate at least.
Of course.
There's a lot of stuff that I try to do, and that's a lot of things I think you've also put on a lot of people, and a lot of people should like.
Yeah, well, here's the thing too, and when I'm doing that, it's actually just to give people value, you know, and that's what I do it for you to tell me 2 years later that you've been journaling because of because I was journaling, right?
Like I'd see you post it every morning, the quote, and I was like, okay, I got to do it.
Yeah.
And then I do it, Campoli's doing it. And then you got Anthony's doing it. Everyone's doing it. It's like almost like a competition. It's like, yo, what's your quote today?
Yeah. Well, that's what I
we're
like to say now. And it's something I said on my recent podcast, and it's the new cool. It's the new, are you cool? How does someone judge if you're cool nowadays?
Yeah.
Right? That's like changed in the last 20 years.
It's also because we've gotten mature. So now things that are cooler to
even mature, you would say that, but still a 21-year-old now is more mature, in my opinion,
for sure,
if they're in the right path than let's say we were when we were 21.
Yeah.
Right? Now you can say both ways to that because you can also say that their whole generation is fucked. They're all on TikTok. They're doing nothing. Okay. But whoever is on the right path, let's say you did decide to be an entrepreneur, you have more tools at your disposal. You probably are more serious about self-education at this point. I don't even remember what I was saying now.
You were talking about discipline and
yes,
your everyday and
just journaling. So pretty much why I started implementing that was to get my thoughts out, right? And we're very structured. My business and all the people that are in it, we're very structured and organized when it comes to business, right? And I was saying I'm like a neat freak when it comes to business. I'm an organizational freak, right? Like I want everything done the right way. very detailed. So I'm very structured when it comes to that. And I said, why can't I just apply this to my life?
Yeah.
Right? Where, man, like I was just intrigued at the fact that you can organize your thoughts in a way that you can communicate better.
Yeah.
Like there's little things like that you take for granted when you're like a young 20-year-old kid. You're like, oh, communication. Yeah, I can communicate. What do you want to communicate about? Let's talk.
Yeah.
But as you get older, you start to realize how much power you have, how much brain power you have. And you're like, wow, like I can actually learn something and implement it into my life. Or I could take something that I read 20 pages of and implement it into my business. Or I can write for 3 hours straight and feel a huge weight off my shoulders.
It's true.
Right? And a lot of people have that weight on their shoulders at all times because they don't have that reliever, right? Some people go to the gym and stuff, but once you start writing down or you start talking, right? And that's a huge thing too as a podcast host. Talk to a camera. Crazy. It's crazy what it could do, but just spend time on your own and spend time with your brain, with your mind.
I think the writing thing is huge. Like
Massive.
Like
massive.
when I got tasks in a day to do, I always write them. Like I have a pen and paper. I just write everything. I cross it off. I don't like the whole like putting in your phone, any of that stuff. Like sure, I record it on like the computer stuff, like Trello or whatever.
Of course.
But I like to write it all out. I cross it. It makes me actually feel like I've done something in the day.
That's your fulfillment.
Yeah.
You're saying it, right? Like that's why people say wake up in the morning and make your bed. It's like you get fulfilled. You did a task. Boom,
Wake up
right
in the
off
morning, make your bed, do your journal,
Yeah.
and right off the bat, you finish 2 things.
So
You're 2 steps ahead.
if you journal, if you got up in the morning and you meditated for 10 minutes, okay? Then you journaled for another 20 minutes. Then you read for another 10 minutes, okay? That took half an hour, 40 minutes. The next person you talk to after that, watch how well you communicate and watch how clear your mind is. If you have a big meeting, do all that first.
Yeah.
But I'm also a big believer in preparing for things, right? I think that in terms of everything, why people get nervous for things, why people don't end up doing things, they just don't really want to prepare. You know, like when it comes to this podcast, you guys had to prepare for it. You guys had to get your shooter in here. You had to come. You guys had to come an hour earlier. You have to prepare. Maybe you guys took some notes. Maybe you guys checked out my Instagram. But you have to prepare. If you take that in your life with everything, you'll be prepared for anything. You do that in the morning and you prepare for your day. You say, I have a meeting. Okay. Even a 20-minute Zoom call. It's coming up. Beautiful. Let me prepare some notes. Even if it's just a simple conversation, just prepare yourself because you'll go into that conversation on a whole different wavelength.
Yeah.
Man, that's so important. It's funny you say that because I remember reading somewhere they said some of the biggest scientific breakthroughs and like eureka moments were had on the toilet seat because
Exactly.
when you're taking a deuce,
Yep.
you don't have your phone with you. It's just you and you.
You're in your flow state, as they
100%.
call it, which is crazy, but you're on the toilet and you're in your flow state, right? That's why how many guys just love sitting on the toilet.
It's the best.
Why?
But
Because-
it's arguably one of like the only moments in the day where you just have to yourself if you're not meditating. And
Exactly,
stuff, right? But
exactly.
even nowadays, like I find myself subconsciously taking my phone with me.
Of course,
You
you
know
will,
what?
you will,
There's
because
stimulus
But some of my best ideas are on there, and I'll bring my phone. I don't care. But
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah.
I got the best billboard campaigns when I sit there. I sit there for an hour. I don't care. But it's like
there's
it's
a
just-
reason for that.
It's just
because-
meditating.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But again, you'll tell someone to meditate for 10 minutes. They might look at you like you're fucked, but then they'll go sit on the toilet for 2 hours.
Yeah, it's true.
Like you see what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
it's perspective.
So it's all perspective and it's about trying things out, right? If you don't try these things, you won't even know if they work. You could be one of those people where, yeah, I'm just not a writer. I just don't write. Like I'm not a writer. I don't like my writing. I can't write.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, yeah, like
But never
that
tried
kind
it
of
in his life.
mindset. Yeah, that kind of mindset. Like I feel bad because I look at writing as like a cheat code. And now I'm looking at this person like, yo, wow, you'll never have that cheat code of life.
yeah.
And that's how I really look at it. That's when I'm preaching to everyone, bro. I'm one of those guys that if I find out something works, I start calling everyone, my fucking uncle, my cousin, yo, do this, trust me, try this.
And that's the thing that I like about you and I love is that you'll never keep things to yourself. You always try to put
why?
others on.
But why?
But a lot of people have that mentality where it's like they
If
try to
I tell
keep
you
it.
guys these things and then you guys go do them, which you already know to do these
Yeah.
things, I'm not telling you anything new. If you go do them, the next time we sit down and have a conversation, it's going to be a heightened conversation again.
Yeah.
Right? So it's all to help everyone because I know if you do better as a person, you do better as a person, it'll all come back around. Right? We're all part of the same community.
Yeah. I know it's true.
Yeah.
So then what's your process like? Do you so you said you journal. Do
Yeah.
you meditate yourself in the morning?
So
Yeah,
what's,
yeah. So
what's a day in the life of Ernesto? Like,
You have to light a candle. Like what do you do?
That's what I want to know, eh? Because I remember
Honestly-
what it was. I want to know what the new one is.
Yeah. Like honestly, it's wild. I'll wake up and again, I'll have different days, maybe 2-3 different days throughout the week that have different schedules. But I'll wake up around 5:30. and I'll meditate right off the bat. 10 minutes.
Do you
Just
use an
10
app? What do you
Yeah, I use Calm app. Shout out Calm app. They're not a sponsor, but you'll hit me up because I've been using you guys for 3 years.
It's true.
What else? So we do that. We do the meditation. I get up. I start writing right off the bat. I make myself an espresso. I start writing in my journal. After I'm done journaling, maybe a page or two, I'll do my 5-minute journal, which is pretty much very straightforward.
Shout
It'll
out to
ask you
the
like 3-4
5-minute.
questions.
Yeah.
And then I'll read. I'll read for maybe, I usually do it based off pages. So I'll do like 15 to 25 pages. And then I'm good.
And what are you reading?
Gary V, a lot of Gary V's books recently, just because I'm trying to it depends what I'm trying to learn at the moment. I just finished Patrick Bet-David, Your Next 5 Steps.
That's actually what I'm starting this week.
Bro,
Yeah.
oh my God.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Sick.
Think and Grow Rich, one of my favorites. 4-Hour Work Week is
That's a
very
good book.
eye-opening.
That's a really good one.
If you're an entrepreneur who is very stressed out and you feel overwhelmed and you're in the stage of your career where you feel like you're doing everything and you just can't, read 4-Hour Work Week. So yeah, I'm always looking for the next book to read. I have a lot of great people around me that recommend books all times. They even give me books to read. So I'm always about books about mindset, business, marketing, and inspirational stories about people too. So like that's a lot of Gary V's books. He just writes about other people's come up stories, which is super cool.
Yeah, it's cool.
So yeah, just try to learn something straight up. Start the day by learning something. So you learn something about yourself, then you learn something you didn't know before, and that's how you start your day.
And then what goes on? You got meetings set up?
Yeah. I'll either have meetings or I'll go to the gym around that time, depending on my trainer schedule. I'll go to the gym, or I'll go get a cold plunge, or a sauna. So those are things that kind of I move around during the day, just depending on the day. I won't do all of those things every day. And then I'll get to work, right? And again, when I'm working, I'm very written. I have a notebook, same like you said, everything's in there. I kind of divide it up by category that it falls in as a task. So that could be a client, that could be my social media, that could be finances, anything. And I've had notebooks like that for maybe 3-4 years.
Wow. And I know you and Anthony just recently moved out to Miami as well. You guys got
Yeah.
a place down there.
Yeah.
I'm curious to know your take on this whole Miami thing, because it seems to have recently gained some traction and it's a new
You guys are
fad. Everyone's
trendsetters.
talking about it.
Well, yeah, like, okay, here's the thing. I mean, we went out to Miami during the pandemic. Okay. And we noticed that over there, everything was
Normal.
Everything was normal. Everything was fine. So we liked that. All of a sudden, we were just like, wait, how does this make sense? So the economy there has never took a pause. I think they locked down for 1 month. Compared to us, it might have been 2 years, right? So think about how that affects an economy. So the people there are still spending money. They're still making money. They still want to work. All these things come into play. That's one thing. That's society. It's a great place to live because the energy around, the money flow around is perfect as a business owner. The next thing I would say is being an entrepreneur there and having a business, you get to meet a lot more like-minded people that are growing their business, that are willing to collaborate, that are willing to trade resources, trade networks, trade connections, which is something that it's very hard to find in Toronto. So I would say the mindset there is different. When you meet someone, chances are they make more money than you and they're doing better than you. And they might even be younger than you. So you're much more inspired if that's what inspires you. Now that inspires me to see a kid pull up in a McLaren. He's 22 years old and he just sold a business for 50 million. How am I not going to be impressed and say, I got to be around these people more?
You got to surround yourself with like-minded people.
So what we noticed, we took a trip. The first trip we took was 4 months. It's when we bought the house. And we noticed that our company Neighbourhood was actually doing better. That we were away in Miami. It was doing better in Toronto. Now you're wondering how the fuck does that even make sense, right? And it's all about how you show people what you're doing right now. Because people saw us in Miami shaking and baking and meeting big people, they assumed that my agency was doing better, right? It was, but that's just how people think. They don't even fuck with money buys happiness until it's in Miami.
Yeah.
Why? Because they just believe you more. Why? Because you believe yourself more. We took the trip to Miami not knowing what was going to happen. We just said, we just got to buy a house. That's it. That's our only goal. Never mind the podcast, all this other stuff. But when we went out there, people started treating us differently from here. They were just more in shock that we would actually go do it. So when you believe in yourself to an extreme, there's going to be people around you that have no choice but to believe in you, right? And I think that's what happened when we went to Miami, bought the house. I mean, we say we're going to do stuff and then we just go do it, which is so rare. Unfortunately, it's a rare trait to have. So you just keep doing that. We did that in Miami. We loved the place there. We loved the people there. We love the tax breaks you get there. We love that. And it's fucking 30 degrees at all times, bro. Like what? What are we talking about?
Snow off your car.
You know, things are cheaper there. You know, like
more opportunity.
You find a client there, and recently we just moved Neighbourhood down there. Like we just put a LLC down there for Neighbourhood because we started getting Miami clients. Dude, those clients there, they're paying 3-4 times the amount. And I love all you clients in Miami that are paying the 3-4 times the amount because we deserve it. But they're paying it without even blinking an eye because of what we've built. They see our reputation. The way they see our reputation in Miami for Neighbourhood is much different than someone sees it in Toronto. It's just the way the person has their mind set up. In Miami, in the States, all this media stuff means more than it does here.
It's true.
That's why they've had podcasts way before us. That's why they've been doing PR way before us, billboards way before us. They understand what attention means. So because of that, you have more leverage. We just moved there, but we already have more leverage in Neighbourhood in Miami than we would in Toronto, which makes no sense. You're putting yourself in a market that actually needs you.
It's so,
you see what I'm saying?
It's very
and for example, most of our listeners on the podcast are American.
Yeah.
We're from Toronto. We've been from Toronto for a long time. You know, and that just goes to show that sometimes you can have the right idea, but it's the wrong market. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Some people can have the best idea and it's not working. It's where you are. That's why it's not working. We went to the States and it's like they were waiting for our podcast to show up. Our agency, it's like they were waiting for our agency to show up. Just open to business, open to marketing, open to networking more. People are more open to paying for things because they're going to turn around and make that money back. Here, it's very difficult. People have tighter pockets as the days go on.
Yeah.
For them to trust you with their last 10% of their budget, you're going to have to do much more. So because of all these things now, we're in a position where Miami is just an obvious home for us.
Did you have any like networks, contacts there when you went, or was that just a consequence of being established in Toronto and then moving everything there and just?
I mean, it's the way that me and Anthony are. We're very network focused. So when we meet someone, we know what to ask them. We know how to talk to them. We know how to get a feel for who they are. So just anyone we were meeting, I mean, we started having on some podcast guests, right? Some I would say smaller following, but they're still huge. And every person that we met for the podcast was a great connection for us. We built a relationship with them. Then you know how it goes. Oh, this guy would be great on your podcast. Let me give him a call. So we were always looking for that.
It's like a referral base, almost like in the same.
And we kind of got a cheat code where in Toronto, for example, we kind of had to build from the bottom, our network. So it's like, okay, how do you meet the club owners? You got to know the club promoters, the managers, and then you meet them. Because we already went there established, we were already there where we can meet people in the higher end, let's say have a following of a career. So that helped a lot too. We weren't going with a zero base because of the online world. Now we went to Miami, they thought we were bigger than we were because of our online. It was easier for us. Of course.
It's so interesting you say that though. It's like, it just goes back to what you were saying about the whole mindset shift.
Yeah.
Where it's like, you'll get the odd person going to Miami just for a weekend to have a good time, go to a couple clubs, go hop on a yacht versus you and Anthony thinking, okay, like this is a whole different market that we can just tap into.
Dude, we've been in Miami. I would say for the last year, we've been there for at least 6 months. Okay? We've got drunk once. In 6 months in Miami, we got drunk once. And that's going to be the last time for a long time. How crazy is that?
That's true. Yeah.
But it's not because we're fucking, we're losers and we don't want to party or we're old and all this stuff. Because I went to Miami, we partied for a week straight. We spent all our money. We got the idea. We know what's there. We don't have to do that every time we go, right? And we're the types of guy where Friday night we're working, so that Saturday we can work more again, and then Saturday we're working, so Sunday we can work less, but Sunday we're still working, so that Monday we're ready to go. So where's the time to drink?
Plus, at the end of the day, you've done it in nightlife before.
I did it for so long.
It's like,
I drink enough for full countries, bro.
And
to
it's
get
like,
drunk.
And that's what I mean. It's like, even when I used to DJ, I've done it so much that now when people tell me, listen, let's go out, like, I have no interest.
You have to know when to leave the party.
Yeah.
That's it. That's life. You know what I mean? That's life. How many people do we know that haven't left the party yet?
Oh, bro, they're still partying.
They're still going. And
Yeah.
you're even asking yourself how. But it doesn't matter how. The question is why.
It's a whole different, it's
So
a whole
people-
different life.
And it's a thing where people get nostalgic with things, right? They feel like if they keep partying, then they're gonna still be with the friends that they've had for so long. They're still gonna feel younger. They're still gonna have that nostalgia they did when they wake up hungover and they
Sometimes
order
you gotta
some
let
McDonald's
go.
with their friend.
Yeah.
Times change, right? So, and I think again, that's something where you look in the States and they're way ahead of the game. They're way ahead of the game when it comes to, if I'm a 20-year-old and I want to be an entrepreneur, I can get there very fast because of my mindset, because of the things you're going around, you're seeing yachts going by. Right? You're pulling up to a drive-through and there's every car there is better than yours.
You're thinking, how the fuck can I do that?
You're looking at it all day and you're saying, and that if that inspires you, which inspires a lot of entrepreneurs, you're going to be in a place where you're like, fuck, this is sick. Like, let's go. I want that car by next year. And again, not everyone's enticed by these materialistic objects, but if you are, again, I'm talking to the people that are inspired by
Not the
seeing,
haters that are going to say, oh my God, he's
There's
so
two-
materialistic.
there's two
I don't want to
people,
hear
right?
that.
there's one person who sees something that they don't have and they become inspired. There's another person who sees something they don't have and they become full of hate.
Yeah.
They become jealous. They become envious, right? Most entrepreneurs that are on the right path look at things like that and they're inspired. It's like when we drive by Bridle Path and we say, wow, look at these houses. There's people that aren't inspired by that though. There's people that be like, oh, well, I don't even want a big house like that. Beautiful. This podcast is not for you. You see what I'm saying?
And-
You got to dream big to get big. That's all it comes down to. So yeah, those things are nice to look at because when you're looking at all those things, man, you put yourself in a different perspective. Think about if you were 15, 16 years old, okay? And every time you left your house, you would see fucking Ferraris. Or you would go out to the mall and you see celebrities. You know what I mean? You would look at life in a different way. You would think that you're capable of more because of what's around you. Right? But if you're 16, let's say, and you grow up and you know, you're going to the fucking parking lot to smoke some weed. You're going over there. There's no sun. It's winter, -10. You're not even going to go out. You're going to play video. What are you going to think you're as good as? The person beside you.
Yeah.
Right? So if you could put yourself in that environment even for 2 weeks, just go taste it. You're going to be like, no, there's more to life. There's more that I can do.
Environment is super important. And
It's everything, bro.
And he'll tell you about this. I love to go to Yorkville.
Yeah.
Always. That's
Why
my
not?
spot. And I've been going to there for the past 6-7 years now. And I go there for a specific reason. It's not
Yeah.
just because I want to sit there and just look at people.
Of
It's
course.
because I want to see the nice cars.
Yeah.
I want to see the business guys with the nice watches. I want to meet the right people. I want to network with the right people.
Yes.
And every single one of my friends, they never understood this.
Of course.
And even
One day
him.
I go up to him and I ask him, I'm like, I see a lot of people like they probably have the wrong idea of why you're in Yorkville.
Yeah.
You know, he probably wants to flex, he wants to stun,
Yeah, of
he
course,
wants to do
of
this,
course.
that.
That's again going back to the two people.
And we were sitting
either
there one
inspired or
day.
not.
And shout out Dimmies. We just had the
Yeah.
sangria and had a
Yeah.
nice penne alla vodka. We
Oh,
go into the
nice.
little courtyard. We're smoking a cigar, and I asked him, I'm like, "Yo, Nick, between you and me, bro, like, what's the philosophy behind Yorkville? Because you're always here." And then he said,
Like, listen, man, I just want to come have a cigar. There's be nights that I literally go alone. I park the car, not even on the block. I park it underground. I walk. I take my book. I grab a little tea from Zaza. I sit there and I
There you
smoke
go.
a cigar.
Yeah.
I don't want nobody to know I'm there, but I just look. I just watch.
Well, dude, that's
And that's
That
what
is-
helps me.
it's-
That's what motivates me at least.
but it's also putting your mind in a different place,
That's it.
right? Because now you're looking at things differently. You start being there a lot, you're gonna start to think, you know what, this is not that crazy.
no. I used to
could-
go there years ago. Like, listen, I want a classic car.
Yeah,
Years later, I bought one.
yeah.
I'm like, I want this. Got meet the right people. You introduce people, and it's like, okay, now I've kind of surpassed that. Now I'm going to the next area. I
Yes.
drive Bridle Path too. I
Of
drive.
course.
I drive by Drake's house. I do a little what up, and that's it.
Well, you gotta picture yourself in these
Yeah.
environments to actually be there, right? And I think that's a huge thing. I think you need to listen. A lot of people will avoid all that because they don't want to be judged. Like you said, oh, what's Nick doing? He's going to
You're
York
judging. They're
flex.
uncomfortable. They're uncomfortable with themselves.
But 100%.
Yeah.
Right. But again, that could be something that they say. Why are you going to Yorkville to flex? And meanwhile, you're like, bro, like I'm
so
just
wrong.
I'm just here, just getting inspired over
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
That person will never understand it, right?
No.
Again,
And,
bridal-
and it's sad, and I'm sorry for them that they won't, because they'll never understand what kind of tool that is. Then they can use, and that's the cheat code that you're talking about. earlier.
exactly, and they'll never try it. And this is something we spoke about on many podcasts. We're always just like, hey, like, go stay at a nice hotel one night. If you have the means, fly business class, one flight. Go to a crazy restaurant. Go buy a piece of clothing that is expensive, that you like. Now, don't go crazy, but go spend some money on an experience that you think either will inspire you or not. And that's when you'll find out, right? It's the same thing with me. It's like if you spend at early stages, right? You're going to, I'm going to take this girl out to Soto Soto. Let's go. Soto Soto's a great restaurant in Toronto. Now, you work minimum wage. The bill's about to be at least $5.
Yeah.
And you're like, that's fine because I'm about to experience something. Now you go to this restaurant and you go have dinner and you're going to be like, I never had a dinner like that before. Why didn't I have a dinner like that before?
And while you're leaving, you're going to touch arms with Drake. And you're going to be like,
Most
holy
likely.
shit.
But who knows what you see?
Yeah.
Maybe you see valets coming in with a Bentley, right? Maybe you see some B-class celebrity in there. Oh shit, that person comes here too. Until you put yourself in those environments, you're not going to know what it feels like. It's going to feel impossible. It's going to feel like it's not even made for you.
Yeah.
Then you start to convince yourself, I don't even like fancy things.
Yes.
No. You like fancy things. You just cannot afford them.
Yeah, that's true.
Let's be honest.
Yes.
Yeah.
You like fancy things. You just don't want to do the work to get them. So you're going to convince yourself that you don't like fancy things. That's fine, but I know you're talking shit. You see what I'm saying?
I even tell my buddies who are like, oh, I'm comfortable. I don't want a car payment. I'm like, go get a car payment so that now you're obligated to hustle.
But they don't want to do that.
You have the some that will.
Exactly.
And they're like, holy shit, bro. Like, I have
Exactly.
$1,200 I have to pay a month.
Exactly.
I got to go hustle now.
Yeah.
But then you got the some that are like, no, bro. Like,
Yeah.
I could save that $1,200.
But again, there's a lot of people, if they're comfortable, that's fine.
No
But
problem.
you also cannot complain after.
For sure.
You know, you can't complain because everyone's comfortable when they're in their 20s, their 30s, when they're 40s. It's easy to say that. Oh, I'm good. I'm chilling. I don't need to do all that. I don't need to travel there.
Yeah.
I don't need to buy that. I don't need to work an extra job. Let me know what you're feeling when you're 65, 70, 75.
They're trying
And
to
you
justify
can't-
their mediocrity. A little,
You're trying to, right? And the thing they have in their favor is that most people do. So it's easy to find someone else that's saying the same. Oh, look, you're comfortable with life too. Beautiful. See, I knew there was more of us. That's fine. Again, that's fine. But
I don't want none of those people around.
But if you want more in life, that's not going to be the group that you attach yourself to. If you have big dreams for yourself, you're not going to attach yourself to that. There's never going to be a moment where you're comfortable.
No.
Because there's always going to be, as soon as you get comfortable, you're like, okay, what I got to do next? What I got to do more? I wake up 5 a.m. and I'm fucking ready, dude. Like, I'm like, what I got to do? Right? Like, that's, and I'm not saying you have to wake up at 5 a.m. with a fire under your ass. I'm saying that you have to have some passion and where it's okay to be misunderstood. It's okay to say, you know what? I'm going to do this. People might judge me. It's okay. That's going to happen. There's more judgers than doers. It's out there.
Yeah.
So what do you think is going to happen? But everyone that's made something of themselves or achieved a goal was being judged and being misunderstood. Look, they could look at Nick and say, look at him. He's parking up his Benz. He's flexing. He's misunderstood. He's just misunderstood. But he knows that there's a chance he will be misunderstood. He still does it. And what has that done for you? It's opened up your mind so much where the 3 people that would say you're flexing, they don't even matter in your life at all. Their opinion's never going to matter. So you have to find the people whose opinion matters, find people you want to be like, and emulate them because it's there. It's all out there, right? If you find someone you like, be like that person a little bit more.
And then you realize, like, there's some people out there that are going to Soto Soto on the regular, breakfast, lunch, dinner, not batting an eye.
Well, listen. Then, if you got a good, decent sized net worth, by all means, do whatever you got to do.
But I'm saying once you start going, then you realize there's people that actually have that money to be.
Well,
doing
that's what I'm saying. This is when your mind opens. This is when you're getting into your Honda, and the guy in the valet beside you got into his G-Wagon, and you're saying, why? We were just having the same dinner, but why is he there? And again, that doesn't have to inspire you, but I would be inspired by that. That's just what I'd like seeing.
Yeah.
Or if I go in there and I'm maybe with my boy and then I see a fucking a stud walk in with a rocket model beside him and he's getting into a fucking Ferrari and he's wearing a suit and I'm over there counting how much I got to tip, I'm going to start to say, I want to be more like that guy. I don't want to be like this guy. I want to be like that guy. Right? And that could be inspiring in any way, right? Like it could happen any sort of way.
Yeah.
But that's how most of our generation would be inspired. So you have to do those things. I think the best one is travel, because if you can travel and see a different part of the world and how they think and how they eat, how they talk, how they move, you actually take that with you, you bring it back, and now you're more cultured. Now people are talking to you like, how do you know all this? Or damn, you seem more open-minded about that. Or what did you learn over? So I think that's huge. That's one of the biggest things you could
For
do
sure.
is travel.
Yeah, traveling, especially going to Europe. There's so much.
It's
you
just
see
a
in
different
Europe.
world.
Yeah,
It's just a different world, right?
Yeah.
You get to experience it. You come back from Europe and you're more appreciative of things because you see how their lifestyle is there. Just relaxed, have a coffee, take a walk to the beach. Usually you come back from Europe and you're like, you know what, we should chill a bit. Like not everything's about making money. And you need all this kind of balance. You
I
need
come
all this
back
kind
and
of
I want to hustle. I'm just like, I'm
But
ready.
or you've seen a crazy villa at Lake Como in Italy, and you're like, bro, I need to buy that. I'm going right back home to go to work, right?
Yeah.
So it can inspire you so many ways, which
It's all
again,
perspective. It's all how
very
you're-
overlooked.
yeah.
Because half the time they're going to these places and they're just getting pissed drunk for 4 days straight, and they got to catch the next flight. They didn't even look at anything, right? And I would a lot of our knowledge when it comes to like me, Ant, and our team comes from our traveling.
And
comes
that's
from us learning
it's
about
something
stuff.
I even talk to like some of my closest friends. What I love about you guys is the relationship you guys have.
Yeah.
Like there's never like I've been in partnerships. I know people that have been in partnerships. You guys have been doing this for how long together? Never have you guys had like an issue.
No.
You guys understand each other.
Of course.
You guys work together very well. You guys are pretty much with each other like at all times.
Pretty much, especially when we're traveling. Obviously, we're living together, right? Yeah, Ant is great, bro. Like we had a conversation years ago about what we expect from each other, and I think that's so important to have, right? Sometimes you get into a partnership with a friend or someone, and you just feel like, oh, we don't have to have that conversation. We're friends, like we're good. We're just let's see what happens.
It's important. You have to.
So you need to be transparent with each other, and I think you have both people in the partnership or however many people all need to know their place and what their value is. And I think we established that very early on, where we know my strengths, we know my weaknesses. Ant, we know your strengths, we know your weaknesses. Anna, same thing. Natasha, same. And if you understand that, then the days where you are overwhelmed or you feel like, you feel a bit better knowing you have that sort of team behind you. Like right now, me being here right now, I feel so good knowing that I have such a strong team right now, taking meetings, locking in clients, making sure our process. So you have to be transparent when you find a partner, right? And I think a lot of people don't want to have that conversation. They think it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
But then 3 years down the line,
It does.
it's tough to have
Or
that
some
chat.
people just not get into partnerships because of this.
Well, listen, if you're going to get a partner, get someone who is different from you.
Yeah.
Right? I see partnerships with the same person. They do the same thing.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, wait, what's the point of that? You have two people. And I think that's something we established very early too, where I said me and Sorella, very early on, me and Anthony Sorella, were never in the same room at the same time. And he goes, I remember I told him this. And he goes, like, why? What is that? How's that going to work? Right? Because if it's both of us, more powerful kind of thing. Right? And I said, yeah, but there's two of us. So we can take on double the work if me and you are not in the same room at once.
Yeah.
And we got to that point where there was a phase where we would go in, me and him, into a meeting, just body it, me and him. Then as we moved on and we said, it's too much work, start to break off. And let's each represent the company and go do what we need to
Different
do.
ways, yeah.
That's how you start making bosses around you, though.
Yeah.
You need that. If I don't have people that can go into a meeting or go talk to this client or lock something in or deal with a situation or problem solve, I'm going to have to do everything. You don't want to ever put yourself in that position. So you got to start trusting people around you. Bring people in that you trust, right? My partners are all, it's Anthony, it's my sister, and it's Anthony's sister, Natasha.
It's all in the family.
That's our partners. So keep that in mind too. You want people that understand you and are loyal to you and that you trust. That's the main thing.
I think PBD said that. He's like, there's entrepreneurs and then there's business owners.
Yep.
If
Exactly.
you have to be there to facilitate the deal and the
Yep.
transaction and your absence has a negative impact on the business, then
Yep.
you're just a business owner.
Yep.
But if you can leave and you can do your own thing, you can be elsewhere and
Yep.
the business is still running itself.
There's a test. So they say that if you're an entrepreneur and you want to see if you're an entrepreneur or a business owner, take 3 months off of work. And if you have a business when you come back still, that means you're an entrepreneur. If you do not, you were a business owner. So there is that distinction. And again, people are completely fine with being business owners and having the control and saying, I'll do it all. Fuck, I love this. People love it. There's people I know that they could easily hire a CEO or hire someone to do what they got to do, but they just love it. Fine, be a business owner, right? But then there are most people that are going to listen to this are going to say, oh no, I don't want to do that. I'm trying to build so that I don't have to do that. So I can get to the next project, the next business, right? And I think that having that sort of mindset, you're always ahead of the game, right? You're always 5 steps ahead if you can have that mindset. So Yeah, I think when it comes to hiring people around you, you need to put yourself in a position to say, what do I want from a year from now? Who do I need to hire? I'm a big believer in hiring ahead. So if I see down the line that in November, December is going to be a busy month, we're going to get a lot of clients, because last year that happened. Okay, hire people in August, hire people in July.
Onboard them earlier.
Because I know even if those new clients don't come, we'll be in a position to get more clients anyways. So I guess just believing in yourself, you have to do that when you're planning as an entrepreneur, and just actually knowing what you want. Because like you said, there's a great distinction between a business owner and an entrepreneur. And a lot of people just say, oh, I'm an entrepreneur. But you work every day for your business.
It's like the whole thing with passive income. Everybody wants passive income.
Oh, there's just a word they're saying
just
now.
a word.
You know,
It's a
that just
buzz
sounds
phrase.
good. It's just like, oh, let me go say this to my mom tonight so she knows I'm getting smarter. You know,
Yeah.
Ma, I started making passive income, right? This is all good. Passive income is good, but do people understand what goes into that?
No, it's very active actually.
It's very active. It's very financially heavy when you're trying to go into something like that. Unless you're doing something like trading, right? Which, again, you can lose trading though. You can lose in trading. You're trading gold, you're trading currencies. That's passive, I guess, but you're still trading, you're working. Passive to me would be that you own property and you're renting it out. That's passive.
Yeah.
Anything else, I don't really know what else would be passive besides
Unless
that.
you own the billboard and people are selling it for you.
Something like that, exactly,
passive,
right?
yes.
But how niche is that to the point where
Yeah.
people don't even know that? You could be the first guy doing
That's
that
what
in
I
our
mean.
generation. So I think passive income is huge if you can get there, right? You have to be smart about it. Again, even an agency, for example, we have clients that are on retainers. Is that passive? It's coming in
certain
every
extent.
month, but we still put costs behind that. We still put a team behind that. There's still hours behind that. So it's not like it's hands off. I would say for passive, you have to really look into property, look into Airbnb. That's huge. We just don't hear about it here because you can't do it here to that extreme. Go to the States. There's 20-year-olds that are millionaires off Airbnbs. And you come back here and you're saying, what's happening here? Nobody wants to come here? Nobody wants to Airbnb my house? No, put yourself in a position to either buy a property or rent a property that you can sublease. That's passive income again, but you need to work to get that money. You need to work to make it passive.
Yeah.
Systems behind it. There's marketing behind it. There's all these things. So I think that's a word that, you know, it's been thrown around a lot, right? The whole passive thing. But there are guys that are killing it, that are doing well. But again, it's not 100% passive. It's not like just money. It's not monopoly.
If you're trading your time for money, it's not passive.
Exactly, bro. And I think the only way you're not trading in your time, which is something that we're trying to do, not direct time exactly, but more like labor hours, is this stuff right here.
Yeah.
This is passive. You have to be here for an hour, sure. But if you're getting paid to do this, if you're getting paid to go onto a stage to talk to 1,000 people for an hour and you're getting paid a nice paycheck, that's pretty passive to me. Just showing up and talking, if you can do that, you have probably one of the best jobs in the world. Or showing up and playing a sport, athletes or speakers.
Yeah.
So yeah.
You had an interesting hot take on the Toronto culture.
Yes.
Would you mind sharing that?
I always have hot. Which one was it? I have like literally
Your most recent one, I guess.
The one where you just snap that people like wake up in the morning and that I forgot what you said, but
listen. Yeah, I said all that. We could pop it up. I mean, we'll edit it in. No, we're gonna pop it in.
We'll pop it in right
We'll
now.
pop it in. I fucking snapped. I was doing a comparison between Miami and Toronto, right? And I did the first comparison, which people got mad at. And the first comparison was me saying that people are over there and you see nice cars, you see yachts, you see people in penthouses, you see all these fancy things, and it inspires you. And then you come here and you don't see anything like that, right? So how are you going to be that inspired? People got mad. People, kind of got some comments like, you don't know what you're talking about. You never worked hard. You never worked in your life. You never did this. You never did this. So I had to make another one to clear it up. You know what I mean? And I think people got the wrong impression because they get so defensive. Instead of watching that and saying, is this guy real, like being real about Miami? Is there something I'm missing right now? Instead, everyone from Toronto wants to act like they know everything. They're not open-minded for the most part. I'll be completely honest. And when they hear something like that, they get defensive. Instead of saying, "Wait, what are you talking about?" I was saying it in a comedic way, obviously. So there's truth to it, but there's also fun to it.
Yeah.
But I think that a lot of people don't understand that. Going back to the main thing, they're not traveling. They're not putting themselves in these experiences. So they're going to think what I'm saying is fucking gibberish. They didn't go see it. Anyone I know who went to Miami that did comment or engage with that post said this guy's talking complete truth.
It's facts.
Everyone that had something else to say has probably never stepped foot in Miami or has a broke mentality. That's all I'm saying. What I'm trying to do when I say that is saying, hey, people in Toronto, wake up. Because there's more to life than these gray skies and CERB checks. That's what I'm saying. And people wanted to get mad and defensive. Obviously, if you're on the other end, there's a good chance you're going to get defensive. What's this guy talking about? My city, he doesn't know I go to fucking work in the morning. I've been working for 20 years. Of course. I'm not talking about the hours you put in day to day. I'm talking about your mindset. That's it. And if you see something that's more eye-opening, you come back to Toronto and you see very closed minds here. It just feels like it's closed in here. When you go to Miami, it's like the world is yours kind of thing. And here it's like, no, the world is not yours. I'll tell you what's yours. You can only get here. You're capped. You're capped. Tax-wise, government-wise, permit-wise, if you want to start a business. All those things is harder to do in Toronto than in Miami. I bought a house in Miami. It was easier to buy a house in Miami than for me to buy a house in Toronto. The fuck? What the fuck, man? Right? So when it comes to everything, it's like, yeah, I feel like more people there have an open mind to get out there and crush their dreams. Whereas opposed to here, I feel like people are very limited in their mind. And most of that issue stems from the environment that they're in. The people that are around them, their family and what their family said. I don't listen to my family about business. I don't take advice from my mom or dad about business because they have never done what I want to do. So why would I take their advice? Again, a lot of people will be like, you're crazy. What are you talking about? I'll go to my mom and talk about relationships, about life, about losses, about experiences. I'm not going to ask her what the best strategy is for my Instagram. I'm not going to ask her if going to Miami is a good idea for my podcast. She's not going to know. Right. So people need to stop taking advice from people that they do not want to be like. That's the first thing. Just because it's your mom does not mean that she knows what she's talking about. She's just doing everything she can to protect you. That's it. Her job, protect you. Go to Miami, that means I can protect you less. Stay here. Just like that. One decision.
Yeah.
Or a girlfriend or a boyfriend or this or that, right? And you see that happen all the time. How many times you see a relationship, two people get into it, they fall off the face of the earth. They break up, all of a sudden they're crushing their dreams. This guy just started a website. She started a nail salon. He's got a barber going. Where was all this before? Why do people bring you down? That means you're with the wrong people. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
If you're going up, that means you got to look around and think the people around you. That's why I always shout out Anthony, shout out Natasha, shout out Anna, because without them, we're not able to do any of this stuff. But I'm with the right people. So I'm good. I know I'm on the right path. When people are with the wrong people, make excuses, get defensive. Oh, I can't do that. I'm not doing that. I got to listen to my mom. She knows best. I got to listen to my dad. He's going to kill me. I got to listen to my sister. She knows. She loves me. Why would she tell me otherwise? I don't know. I don't know. But from my experience, if I took my mom's advice, which I love my mom more than anyone in this world, by the way. I'm not bashing my mom. I'm going to call her right after this and talk to her for an hour. If I listen to my mom with some of those times, and I can name those times, I have it written down. When she told me to do something over something else, she was just doing it to protect me. But if I did that, I wouldn't be even sitting here today. So you got to look around and say, I got to take some own control of my life instead of letting everything bring me down. I could have just stayed in Toronto and said, this is my life. This is my hometown. My family's here. What am I going to do? Go to Miami? Fuck yeah. Right? So you got your own life to live. The people that love you around you, they do love you. They do care about you. But sometimes they don't know what's best because only you know what's happening in there. So take advice from people you want to be like in that category of your life. Find someone you really like in business. Find someone you like as a philosopher. Find someone you like in marketing. Take things from them and emulate them. That's the best thing you can do, right? But yeah, there's just going to be a lot of excuses for people and stuff like that. But that comes with it, right? If everyone was on the same wavelength, we wouldn't be as successful as we all are.
For sure.
Right? You need a bit of everything.
I wanna go back.
Let's go back
a little bit.
Let's go
and talk about the podcast.
Let's talk about the podcast.
Talk about how you guys manifested what ended up happening for you guys, and give us a little bit more information. Tell us how it happened. I remember I used to watch episodes pre
Pre-signing. Yeah.
And how Anthony used to always be like, listen, like, Kyle, if you're watching this, like, you know, he used to like look in the camera.
Yeah.
And then literally, I think 2 weeks later, boom, you guys are in Miami. Boom, there's a picture you guys have. And I'm like, yo, what happened, bro?
Yo,
How?
honestly, man, like we probably, and I got to give credit to Anth because he was really involved in
He's persistent.
putting this out there to the
Yeah.
world. Yes.
His manifestation, that guy's manifestation
Well,
hits.
here's the thing. On a side note, once you see your manifestation work, you're
Yeah, for sure.
your soul.
Of course.
You're like, I'm doing this every fucking time.
Yeah.
I'm doing this every day. So I remember maybe about a year and a half ago, 2 years, we were in Mexico during the pandemic. And we were just chilling. It was like a rainy day, and he just put on some full send videos, like their vlogs and their skits. And I wasn't really like a huge fan. Obviously, I've heard of them. I watched some of their stuff, their pranks, but I wasn't like religiously watching them. And he was like that. He was watching them, and I was like dying. I was watching these videos. I'm like, yo, these guys are fucking jokes, right? Yeah. And he's like, yo, how sick would it be if like we can get this guy on, Kyle or Steve or any of these guys? And at that point, bro, like you have to remember, like we were small.
Yeah.
We were just like a Toronto pod, just trying to like just have an agency. We're chilling. And I was like, yeah, bro, for sure. That's going to be sick, right? So he keeps going, whatever. We start watching. And that's when I remember he showed it to me, right? And he was like really serious about it. And then after that, a couple months later, we had 905 Shooter on the pod. 905 Shooter episode ended up getting seen by Kyle. Kyle ended up shouting us out on his episode with 905 Shooter.
Nice.
He just said like, oh, you guys you were on that Toronto pod, like what are those guys like? What he just said brief shit, right? But we got amped. We were like, bro, did he just mention our pod on their pod? And then from there, I believe Ant just started going into the DMs right off the bat, right? Like come on our pod kind of thing to Kyle. And then one day Kyle responded and they just started talking. And he's talking about signing us. He's like, oh, like maybe we could put you guys on and sign you guys kind of thing. And we were like, what? This was like a year
16
ago. Months ago. Yeah, this was even more.
A year ago, yeah.
And then he just eventually
I remember
kept
I listened to the episode and like you guys kind of like dropped it as a joke, like, oh, you know,
well,
maybe
yeah.
money buys happiness.
Well, this was before they'd started DMing. So
yeah.
Anth went on our pod. He's like, Kyle, I DM'd you. That was his first DM. If you're looking at this, open it up, whatever. That's when he started talking about it much more.
And then I remember he came on the pod, and then I think you guys were messing around. You're like, yeah, you know, maybe full send and money buys happiness should do something. And Kyle goes, yeah, I don't know, man. Maybe we'll sign you guys.
Well, he said that on the pod,
Yeah.
right?
And I'm like, yo, this is gonna happen.
Yeah, that was crazy. So we were talking to him a bit, and by we, I mean Kyle and Anth talking in the DMs. And they were just kind of going back and forth. But obviously, Kyle's very busy. He has so much shit going on. So there was months where we didn't hear back. So we didn't know for sure that anything was going to happen. We were like, bro, maybe we just got excited for a day and now he gives about it. He doesn't give a fuck anymore.
Yeah.
Well, you don't know because these guys have so much going on.
That's true.
And then one day we're in Miami. We had Jimmy Gambles on, which is one of his guys. Maybe a couple weeks before. Then Kyle messaged us and he goes, hey, I'm flying into Miami tonight. I could do the podcast literally tonight. And it was like 4:00 at night already. And he's like, I could do it at 7 or 8. Can you do it? And we didn't have the studio ready. We didn't have anything. We're just like, yeah, we're done. No problem. So we called the studio. We made it happen. Shout out those guys for making it happen for us. Did the pod that night. And then we went out with them after. And then after that, we pretty much knew we were going to get signed because he really enjoyed the conversation and the things he said, obviously, on the pod. But then after that, it took another maybe 3-4 months to actually get the deal done and go to LA and go to their headquarters.
Nice.
But yeah, I'm super grateful for them, bro. They put us on, man, right? So they didn't have to do that. But again, we were working very hard on the pod. And we were like, you know, we care about our production quality. We care about all these things. So I think we deserved it as well. But again, I'm super grateful for them. They changed the game for us. They're sick.
Good.
All very nice guys, very humble guys. And yeah, so it's been great working for them. Obviously, we're on a whole different level now because of them.
And where do you see the podcast going now that this is kind of the
yeah?
direction?
So, man, I just want to keep building the pod, keep bringing on these like very like inspiring guests. I want to keep creating content. I really like the vlogs that we're doing, the side stuff. It just helps people get to know us so that when they watch the pod, there's some context as to who we are. And I think eventually in the next few months, I think we're actually going to start like a daily show, like something that we film in the morning and release at night kind of thing. And that'll be more like day-to-day stuff. So like it's gonna be more like a news show kind of thing with me and Anth, and still have the pod, which is like once a week. So I think the daily show is the next big thing for us.
Sick.
But we're really investing in our team right now. Social media managers, editors that are on point, community managers, everything. If you can build a structure properly, you can grow to fit that structure, right? A lot of people won't pass where they are because they don't even have the resources to do it.
Maybe we'll see you in a couple prank videos too.
Bro, I could do some pranks, eh? I'm down for some pranks. We'll do a collab.
Let's do it. Why not? Let's do it.
There's one question.
There's a question we always like to ask, and this is kind of the question that wraps things up.
Okay, wrap it up.
If your life was a 10-chapter book, what chapter would you say you're currently on?
Wow, that's a good question.
I try.
For the man who's done it all.
And there's no wrong answer. We've had guests who
You know
say
what? Like
chapter
it's crazy
5,
that
6.
that like I'm just like I would say like depends where I start the story. 10 chapters I'm working with a little bit here. You know, I'm not working with too much. I'll say I'm on chapter like 3 or 4 straight up.
Yeah.
Maybe less. You know, I'm just thinking about my whole past though, you know? So where's that gonna go?
And
In
would
the
you
bio?
say? Would you say? What would you say?
On the back of the book? Where am I gonna put that?
What would you say the next chapter is for you?
The next chapter for us is going to be very Miami focused.
Yeah.
It's going to be Neighborhood killing it in Miami. It's going to be MBH having a studio in Miami, which we're working on, have a podcast studio there. So it's going to be very Miami focused, making sure that the podcast is ready to take off at any moment and that Neighborhood is ready to do the same. So a lot of behind the scenes stuff, structuring, making processes, hiring the right people, keeping the right people. It's going to be a very administrative chapter, I think. But it's like setting us up for like the next 20 years kind of thing.
Yeah, good.
Yeah. Big chapter coming up, boys.
Well, congratulations on all the success,
Thanks,
bro.
boys.
Thanks
Congrats
for
on
coming
you
out,
guys,
bro.
of course.
Thank you,
Congrats
bro.
on the pod, boys.
Thank you.
Thank you
Pumped
so much
pumped
for
to be on
everything.
it.
Appreciate you
For
coming on.
If there's anybody, I doubt this is going to be the case.
You guys
but
don't even need to just, bro.
If
Yo,
there's
just
anybody
hit-
that doesn't know who you are, where
They
can
know.
they find?
Yo, you can follow me on Instagram at Ernesto Gaita. The podcast is at Money Buys Happiness. And that's all you need. Everything else you'll see from
Neighborhood
there.
too.
Yeah, Neighborhood at Neighborhood Creative. I forgot about Neighborhood. Can never forget about Neighborhood. Neighborhood Creative on Instagram.
If you need social media, call him. If you need, don't
call
call
me.
him. Actually, you don't got time.
Don't call me.
Send an email.
He could call me, but you
Send
know,
an email. If you need a billboard, call him. We'll figure it out.
call me because I'm gonna call him right
Yeah,
after.
We'll figure it out. No problem.
Thanks, boys. I
Thanks so
appreciate
much,
it.
bro.
Wrap.
Appreciate
Thanks,
it, bro.
bro.